One of the great things about the Game 3 rosters getting sort of the sub-faction, main faction combined is the ability to take certain hero and lord combinations. Today, I'm going to be showing you a replay from one of my recent streams. Apologies about my voice, guys. It's a little bit shot right now, but I'm going to try and at least get some videos done for you today. Alberic and Henri, two bros who didn't know how much they actually enjoyed each other's company because both being anti-large characters. The Braid of Bordello here, giving an extra 8 bonus versus large to both of these Bretonnian heroes here. Champions of the Lady gives them extra killing power against large targets, obviously. In particular, it's going to be especially helpful on their melee attack. The difference to their weapon strength is somewhat negligible, given that they are, single entities, but still. Today, Bretonnia is going to be facing off against the Empire. I've got some peasant mobs up front, second line of men-at-arms here, beast slayers of Baston, peasant bowmen to back them up, and the Holy Wardens of La Maison Tal. I've also got a Lore of Life spellcaster here. My opponent under the Ostland color scheme's got some pistoliers, definitely improved. Karl Franz and double captain. That does mean he did not choose to take a caster, or maybe just forgot to, which is definitely going to put him back a little bit, but spoiler alert, I'm also going to lose my caster fairly early on, so it's all good at the end of the day. Got some halberds and spears, definitely all makes sense. Royal Altar of Crypt Fights, again, you definitely want Lore of Life. Just cut one of these captains and take Lore of Life, even just hide him here in the woods. Don't even necessarily have to take a horse. Just to have, Regrowth and Earthblood to heal Karl and the Royal Altar of Crypt Fights, or alternately you could choose to take something like Shield of Thorns. Anyway, yeah, some handgunners as well. Let's get started. My yeomen are going to sweep out of the woods here. Wardens of Montfort apply a little bit of poison, and some nice pistol versus bow skirmish. Do love the Ostland color scheme here. Sort of the black-clad pistoliers with their dark breastplates. Looks very cool. And the Bretonnian archers, of course. Some people have said that they're not the biggest fans of the Bretonnian knights sort of all having a homogeneous color scheme when being used as a sub-faction, and I agree broadly. I think that's probably a bug that they need to potentially fix, but Mortal Empires is still in beta, guys. There's plenty of time for them to implement such fixes, but Wardens of Montfort, too. I do love their unique color scheme here with the white and black. Looks very cool. The Bretonnian horse police here, riding out to a citizen's arrest. I guess not citizen's arrest. They're definitely don't have rights, but you know what I mean. Here to arrest these pistoliers for speeding and for unlicensed carrying of firearms, which is definitely a crime in Bretonnia. And we are here on the Peak Pass, so it's arguable as to whether or not we are over the border or not. Certainly this dispute among the kingdoms of men probably stems from illicit trade of gunpowder goods. But anyway, let's move on. Karl going to be kind of forward screening here. I'm basically just mirroring Karl right now in the Empire Captain while my infantry forces advance, and we kind of skirmish with these pistoliers a little bit. My opponent's going to make a good play here and get his pistoliers within range to blast some of my questing knights here with no missile block chance and only 80 armor. I say only. 80 armor is obviously very good, but the high DPS of pistoliers will do quite a bit of damage there. Still 2 AP per shot on double shots, 4 AP per volley, even with the poison factored in, so it's definitely significant damage, significant enough that it's not comfortable to take on a relatively expensive unit. Need these questing knights to take out Karl and the captains, and also to get the Royal Altar of Crypt Fights. So, gotta try and keep them healthy. And as much as possible, try and keep Alberic within range as well, so that they can also get the bonus versus large. But, yeah, Alberic and Henri should be in for a great time. Let's see as these guys advance here. Peasant mobs coming forward. Men-at-arms also. Beast slayers of Baston should be able to help as well against some of these large armored targets. I was honestly expecting more, maybe like a steam tank or more knights, more demigryph knights with halberds, or I don't know. I suppose great swords are also a bit of a possibility here. They're not a super common pick, but you never know. Sometimes Bretonnia can skew heavily into like foot squires and battle pilgrims, and in that case, 1 or 2 great swords, as odd as it sounds, against a cavalry faction like Bretonnia, yeah, it might be pretty decent. Karl sweeping up and over is going to find my caster in the back, which has definitely been put into tactical reserve and completely forgotten about. and she's going to get gooned in very short order. Meanwhile, in the front line, mobs clashing with state troops. It's going to go a certain way for the mobs, but, you know, it is what it is. They've got to make their sacrifices for BRO-TONNIA as well, facing the professional state troops. That opens up some gaps, though, and we're going to sweep up through the center here. You can see the Holy Wardens also coming to support, trying to get into those handgunners. We're going to drop the wave attack through the Sigmar Sons. Doesn't get the best contact. Probably should have used it on the Pistoliers, to be honest, but here we go. Alberic and Henri here in the center using their anti-large. Of course, that also means that the Holy Wardens are also going to be getting a little bit of bonus versus large, up to 49 weapon strength with Frenzy, plus bonus versus large. Despite their lack of AP, are actually going to be trading reasonably well with the Royal Altar of Griffites, given their very superior model count situation. Questing Knights also charge in, and it's a bad, bad situation for those Royal Altar of Griffites. One weakness of Demigryph Knights is them getting out-modeled, and here they are getting out-modeled very specific, yeah, significantly. My brain is almost as fried as my voice, guys, so I apologize. But we're going to overrun into these handgunners here. They're definitely quite threatening to my knights. You can see the one firing from the flank here, even having taken significant damage from my archers, breaking and coming back. They're still doing a lot of damage to my questing knights. Definitely quite alarming how fast that DPS comes in from even those tattered handgunners. So we're going to sweep up and around the flanks, try and continue to clean these units up. Carl and the captains came to wreck my archer line, which is definitely a good play after finishing the caster. But the captains, the mass is not amazing on these guys. They can sometimes get a little bit caught up in these infantry units. Here, though, dropping a nice rear charge. Firstly, I'm a huge fan of the Empire captains. They're just so cost-effective as melee heroes. Can generally be quite good. Obviously, here you'd want to drop one for a caster, but still, the mobility and kind of hitting power alongside Carl is going to form a pretty scary goon squad, especially for me to try and take down in the late game. Holy Wardens also managed to get themselves fully surrounded. They're duking it out with the Sigmar Sons and these Halberdiers. So, yeah, Sigmar Sons versus Holy Wardens, classic matchup with two faith-based infantry. I don't know, in a 1v1, I think the Sigmar Sons might win. It's hard to say. On leadership, I don't know, though. The Holy Wardens do a lot of damage. Their DPS is quite strong. Over here, also, Alberic comes in with the Knights to try and just bust these halberds quick. Since, I mean, there's not a lot of armored targets for us to go after. It's mostly anti-large infantry left at this point. I can still use my cavalry to try and rear charge them and just deal extra damage. But I'm pretty confident that Alberic and Henri here can deal with the Empire characters, especially if they get spread out. My opponent definitely wants to fight with his captains and Franz all together. The question is, can he get back up in the air? Takes a few big hits from Henri and Alberic as he gets away, but is able to actually get away. And the balance power is still very close, mostly because the Empire single entities are so healthy, but my army's taken also pretty significant damage here. The Questing Knights are all pretty low. Most of my infantry are mostly ineffective at this point. We're going to pull the Holy Wardens back just to kind of try and preserve them as long as possible. Over here, these men-at-arms end up just getting outnumbered and dragged down by lots of anti-large infantry. Again, Questing Knights coming in for a quick rear charge, just breaking these spearmen shields, helping the Beast Slayers out. Not engagements necessarily that they were all meant for, but that's still the way of things. And get towards this endgame of a particular battle. So we'll fast forward slightly as this engagement continues to play out. We're going to chase some routing units towards the edge of the map. Got some rallied handgunners here in the woods that I'm kind of flanking around with the peasant mobs, just forcing them out of position. Eventually the mobs do get engaged by the Sigmar Sons and the Halberdiers. Sending this kind of sloped wood here at the edge of the map. They're going to be able to push back the mobs and free those handgunners once again, but during that time, Franz decides to come give his final engagement, charging directly after the Questing Knights is not a bad idea necessarily. I might have charged after the characters directly instead, but either way, you have units in a position to countercharge from my army. So I've got, you know, whether he chooses to charge Alberic, countercharge with the Knights, or vice versa. Here, Franz is able to get away, ends up leaving a captain kind of trapped, decides to cycle charge back up and around. Soundbug currently haunting me as I get a little bit too close here. But there you go. A little bit frustrating. Other captain also comes back. And they're now going to try and duke it out. Alberic takes a few huge hits here. Great focus. If you can get rid of Alberic, get rid of that extra bonus versus large, all of these units are just going to be less effective. But as it is right now, a lot of anti-large armor piercing and decent leadership. Questing Knights, of course, are immune to psychology, so they will not get terrified away by Deathclaw here. And we've even got some Empire Spearmen. Oh, nice chop there, man. With that two-handed sword, just whacks that guy's arm straight off. Yes. Braun sends up pretty much by himself. One captain routes. The other captain's also very close to routing. And just the DPS here, even though Alberic takes some damage, I can still just stand nearby and give the damage out to these other units. Henri also is just on horseback, has straight up armor piercing damage. 255 AP with that extra bonus versus large. I mean, that's what, 70 plus attack, effective attack versus large. And then on the charge, that goes all the way up, you know, 150 plus potentially. So very, very important. Of course, the charge bonus buff I also didn't mention, but that's obviously a component of Alberic as well. The Spirit of the Tempest, 10% speed and charge. So just a lot of synergy here with Alberic and Henri, and it's definitely a fun combination. It's you know, a little bit more unique than like the Fey Enchantress, and even sometimes if you get your healer sniped, can be effective. Although obviously with a healer, it's going to be that much more effective. Definitely want to try this type of build out in more situations, but it feels pretty solid, honestly. Yeah, the Questing Knights did their job more or less. Holy Wardens did theirs as well. Didn't really have to use the Beast Slayers that much at the end of the day, but they were also here. Arguably, maybe should have brought an anti-infantry foot squire in their place, kind of in hindsight. I don't think... I mean, they are going to contribute, but I don't know. Empire, maybe I have enough anti-large AP to deal with their own large armored targets with just what I have here, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Archers and handgunners also fairly cost-effective for me, although the handgunners do return some pretty decent value here. Halberdier is also a great pick. I'd probably drop the chevrons just to try and bring like 1 or 2 more units, but that's okay. Pistolier is also fairly cost-effective. And then the captains do okay. You could definitely afford to cut one of them, bring some healing instead, and then, I don't know, maybe I might cut one of the captains too for a warrior priest, just because personally I like their support buffs a lot, especially for supporting Demigryph Knights into BRO-TONNIA Knights. That extra melee attack and damage resistance really does go a long way. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, though. Again, apologies about my voice. Hopefully you still enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.